Okay. Yeah, while it's going on, my name is Avijit Ghosh. I work for Aricent. About 25 years ago, we were founded as Hughes Software Systems in Delhi, and we've opened an office in Bangalore maybe, I don't know, 5 years after that, and we've been here in Bangalore also ever since. Our background, our heritage is in communication software, specifically software for cellular infrastructure. So while here in our panel we have two approaches. One is the operator-less approach, freedom approach, let me put it this way in today's environment. And the other is we have with Sridhar, which is the pioneering thing of an operator for IoT in the unlicensed spectrum, which is extremely exciting, and I have always cheer for you on that. I'll give you another perspective, which is the cellular operators approach. This is not an advocacy. I'm not a cellular operator. It's just the other thing that's happened. Here we are. So the IoT, the way it is, it's kind of that blind man and the elephant. I mean, whoever touches it has a different view of what it is. So we at Aricent see it as three things. We call it chip, connectivity, and cloud. Or in other words, the silicon, the connectivity again, and the software. Now, I'm looking at it from the connectivity angle. And there also, we find that when we talk about IoT, we have this pretty big spectrum of what the communication needs are. I mean, at the one end, we have these solitary sensors maybe sitting in a pole somewhere, which is very difficult to approach, sending 20 bytes every 3 hours. That's it. At the other end, you can have security cameras or Tesla's new car, which presumably feeds back several megabytes every day and gets a software download once a month. And somewhere in the middle, you'll find all other kinds of devices, right? So here in the LPWAN context, I think what the term LPWAN now means in today's world is we have a particular kind of traffic pattern. By the way, the one thing that's kind of common between all IoT is probably, if you have to find one thing that's common, is the fact that this is a uplink heavy traffic. I mean, compared to human consumption, when all of our smartphones, what we are really doing is watching video, downloading stuff, browsing, it's downlink heavy. If there is anything common, that our IoT devices, be it your light switch or be it security camera, it's not interested in watching YouTube. If it's doing anything, it's mostly to send data up. And so it's uplink heavy. And it can even be uplink only sometimes. I think, that's the point where IoT communication spreads out. And I think very short burst transmissions and maybe just one message up or one message down, up and one message down, this is likely to be a common pattern which is going to be served by LPWAN. Maybe one pair, maybe two pairs, but very short sessions. It's not a streaming video session going on here. Then we have terminals that don't really move much, maybe. Okay, it's not going to be true for Tesla, but of course that's not our our LPWAN target area. So we are talking about terminals that probably just sit in one place, or you move and you do a little transmission, move somewhere else. It's kind of nomadic. And finally, we have the fact that IoT terminal, LPWAN terminal, it's not really going to need to talk to several numbers of other endpoints. It's probably, if you have a particular device, it has its own server and it talks to that server and only that server. So these are the kind of characteristics of traffic we think LPWAN handles, and we can take advantage of that. And so what we need to do in LPWAN, we compromise on the traffic pattern, just as I told you. Then we compromise data rate, as we mentioned, as Sridhar mentioned, that the data rates are very slow in the IoT world. And I would even contend that in the LPWAN world, data rates are even slower, and furthermore, total data volumes are likely to be very, very low. Volumes taken over time. I mean, not just bitrate, instantaneous bitrate. 3 minutes? Oh, okay. Okay. It's going to be very low. So we trade off data rate and latency, and to achieve low device cost, circuit simplicity, and low battery life, long battery life, and we do that by reducing power consumption. Then we want to achieve extended coverage, that is either coverage very far away from the the infrastructure that you have, or maybe in difficult, underground, in basements and stuff like that. Now on the right side, I've talked about how we are going to achieve that in the 3GPP world. I'll ignore that for the moment. Yeah. So now, we're talking about operators. Now, when we talk about operators, the cellular operators who have been, brought us this huge revolution for the last 20, 30 years, suddenly wake up and raise their hands and say, but wait a minute, we are the operators, right? We are the operators, we've been doing it for these years. And in fact, the original M2M technology, IoT technology, is actually GSM. And even now, that's the baseline. I mean, that's where you start with. So what happened was the 3GPP, which is the standardization body, and GSMA, which is the, the cartel, if you like, of cellular operators, they started moving towards this direction. And several things happened. In the beginning, GSM stayed at is, every LTE is where the world is going great. So the first step was kind of a negative step. There was something called delay tolerant access, where there were standards put in place where you could have an IoT device say, I'm an IoT device. I don't really, I can wait. I can wait. So, high value traffic can go through. Well, I don't know how many devices actually took it up. Then we had this Cat0 business, which was, again, a way to go low cost on the device. Again, even before the chipsets properly came out, we have LoRa and Sigfox and everything else. And suddenly, the cellular operators felt that we have to do something about it now. We might be just taken out of the market. So now we had, in the last 1.5 years or so, there was this huge push towards standardizing LPWAN from 3GPP, LPWAN of the operators. And therein, we have got basically 3 new things that have come up. And they are called ECGSM, that extended coverage GSM, CAT-M, which is LTE, regular LTE kind of modified for LPWAN, and finally NB-IoT, which is the official entrant in the LPWAN game. So I'll have a little bit more spectrum and coexistence. You have, and in LTE normally can operate on a 20 megahertz band, or even 10 or 5, but even up to 20 is the blue stuff out there. Now, if we talk about category M, or what is called LTE-M, this little green band I see out there, in a 1.4 megahertz in the middle of an existing LTE spectrum, sharing everything else with LTE, we can have devices to do that. The pink stuff out there on the left is ECGSM. It's basically GSM slightly modified. And finally, in the red, we have NB-IoT. The interesting thing is you can work with within the band, in a totally separate band that's allocated to you, and finally in the guard bands, which is very valuable because the operators don't have to pay extra for it. And here I have this, I think there'll be one more slide, but let's quickly go through it. This is interesting because we've been talking about spectrum, and we are asking for spectrum. Now, NB-IoT technology works in existing LTE spectrum, in which you can see these red bands, and we can see the frequencies on top. And you will also see that 863, 902, the European and the US bands, there are overlaps here. And of course, what's in euros licensed there is not licensed here, and so on. But what is interesting is that we can have a situation where we can not only extend our unlicensed allocation for IoT, but we can even look at licensed allocations for IoT specifically, for instance, smart city. Now, if each city had a 200 kilohertz allocation as a part of the initiative, each city could have their own NB-IoT network that is free from interference from any other operator, and the model will still work. That's more or less it. I guess we are kind of probably a bit short on time, so I'm not really going to talk too much about it, whether it's the right compromise or not. We can open it to discussion. Just to say that there's another entrant in the game. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So